This episode is sponsored by Zenro Clothing Co. Pick up your tees and or accessories at zenroclothingco.com and be sure to use offer code SOCRATES at checkout for 20% off select items. Also, if you're not into spending the money, just check out the Zenro radio playlist. zenroclothingco.com, music for your everyday. This episode also sponsored by The Pornian Bakery. If you're located in the Pornian area of Scarborough, Toronto, be sure to check out The Pornian Bakery, say what's up to Arville, and pick up a donut or two. Baked daily, crafted with love. This episode also sponsored by Podbean. Podbean is the podcasting platform of choice. It's the one that me and Vish use, and is great. You know, if you're looking to start that DIY podcast yourself, definitely check out Podbean. Use the link podbean.com/SocraticGamers and gain 1 month of unlimited podcasting for free. Test it out, build that content. Anyone could podcast, right, Vish?
Yep.
Start a podcast and get your ideas out there. All right, enjoy the episode. All right, so let's talk about F1. You know what? All right, you want to talk about my stupidity first, or you want to talk about F1 first?
I don't know what the stupidity is.
Well,
the
okay.
F1's gonna be quick. I don't see anything.
Go with your F1. Go F1.
No, it started. New season started.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So the first race was in Australia. That's why I said I was like, is it gonna be late? Because I think, the race was at midnight.
Oh,
for
dang.
us,
Okay.
for us, midnight.
Isn't it like 3 hours or something?
No, it was like 2 hour
Like
race.
the races? Oh, still pretty long. So you're like up.
But it was
until 2.
it's whenever there's rain and stuff, that's where it gets interesting. That's like all the drama comes out of that. It's all timing, when to go change your tires and all that, because you're going to start slipping if you're on slick tires.
Right.
So that was the part where it was like very interesting. Yeah. Like
What do you find so fascinating about F1? It's really just like, okay, here. So like there are certain things that captivated the cultural zeitgeist at certain times, and like rock climbing being one. So like when Free Solo came out, everyone's like, oh, I want to rock climb. Me too. I was like, hey dude, that looks so sick, right? And for you it was F1. And then I remember Tara's sister was talking about like, oh yeah, everyone's into F1. And I was like, really? I only know Aveshi's into F1, but like but then it's like, oh no, people are really into F1. It just started.
I think that it kind of, you see, I've always liked racing, but like the things that I watched before, right? The things I watched before were NASCAR and stuff. That's a bit boring. Like I didn't find those interesting.
So what's the difference?
Right?
It's the same.
Right, but it's different. It's not like just spinning it's not like just spinning going around in circles. It's the curves, the turns, that's what's different, and you're going way faster in these F1 cars.
Okay.
And I think, well, I've always liked racing games and stuff like that. I still do once in a while Gran Turismo. So it's just that I wasn't introduced into the F1 world till much later. I would say, I think the Netflix is what like kind of like got me more into it, like understanding that world and understanding like the politics, all that kind of stuff that happens around it and the drama. So that, but I didn't even watch. I don't think I watched the Netflix one until maybe just after. But I think they made it easier to watch F1 too, right? Because you can just like a streaming app.
Streamable. Yeah, true.
So that's also what made it more accessible. I don't know if it was Netflix. It's kind of, I don't remember now which one it was that kind of pulled me towards it, but somehow I got into it, and now it's like the focusing on like, you know, there's different kinds of things that talk about the engineering aspect, the design aspect, all these things that go into it, like how to make this car go fast. Right.
Yeah, totally. It's funny because like I remember when you said like I was always into racing, I'm like, oh yeah, we played in your parents' room that Midtown Madness game or something on the computer, and then I remember you were like obsessed with it. But it's like, I mean, they're cool. Like I liked Need for Speed, but it's just like, how does it translate into real life? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because like you're just watching them do a loop. You're not playing the game. So it's like, oh, okay, I'm playing the game, so I'm trying to like outpace someone. But like, I don't know. I can't understand the appeal. But maybe that's the same for you. Like, I don't understand how you like climbing indoors. You know, like.
Sure.
like
Right.
rock
Yeah. Right.
climbing. It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
but I'm just wondering what the fascination is. So it's like, okay, so it's the drama, the engineering aspect of it. These are all
Yeah.
the things you like.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Because like you stayed, like staying up late is like, whoa, dude, that's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
like, but I guess maybe the fighting too. Because like fighting is primal. Like UFC, you're like, oh, watching two people fight. But like, I just don't understand this one.
Hmm.
So like, so the main draw for you is
I think
like,
it's the it's the car, it's the engineering, it's the design. There's so many things involved in it to make it go. It's not just the driver. It's a even though the driver is of course doing a lot of the stuff, but it's really
mm,
a team thing that what makes this whole thing even
that's weird too. It's like
happen. Yeah.
team.
Yeah, because
And
you got to be able to
yeah,
communicate. The driver has to like figure out okay what's working and where it's not working to be able to communicate to your team where to improve or what things we need to improve and things like that. So like that's you have to know how to communicate that, right? You have to
yeah,
understand your
yeah.
car. Yeah,
Maybe it's like Mobile Suit Gundam. Like
maybe.
the anime where you're like, oh, I have to be so in tune with the machine, and that's why people like Mobile Suit Gundam, the anime. But I'm just like, to me, I just don't get it. But that's really cool that you like
Mm.
it. Yeah, I saw this one meme, and it was like, uh, follow your passions because that will just attract you to the flow, and the flow is all the same. So like you being inspired by this thing, you're like, oh, I don't want to watch it. Is like
Hmm.
the same feeling I get, but like it's just different.
No,
We just
I
have like
think
different
yeah, yeah, yeah,
pathways.
and like there was moments I think when watching some of the Netflix ones where it's like the driver was like explaining when you find your flow and then you're
Mhm.
just driving and turning like everything is perfect. I had that
Yeah,
feeling when I'm going through like Gran Turismo. When you get into
yeah,
that
totally.
zone and it's just like everything's just moving smoothly. It's crazy.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, yeah, totally, totally.
Like you're one and one with the machine. That's what it feels
It,
like.
it's
Well,
funny because even the game, you're like, oh, I'm playing like the Gran Turismo and then the flow state, and then when we were kids, remember they're like, don't watch too much TV, and then now all the parents are like watching Netflix and like don't play too many video games, and all the parents like we became the parents, right? Like the
mhm.
adults, and it's like, it's weird to see that total shift where initially it seemed like a bad thing, but now we're seeing the benefits. You're like, oh, I hit a flow state. It's like, yeah, just hit flow states, bro.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter what you're doing. It's just like, can you feel that sensation of like fully immersed into the moment?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Would you ever try like a physical, like a real one? Like, would you go? I guess you wouldn't drive, but like,
Yeah, I don't mind being a
did you
passenger and seeing someone else feel
did
the
you do that
actual.
already?
No, I've been to the track, but I didn't go in any vehicle. Like I've
I think
seen a race.
I can't remember. There's somebody who, or maybe you're talking about it. There's somebody who like was in the passenger seat, and they're like, "Oh, it's so the G forces, even as a passenger, you're like, oh my
Probably
neck."
yeah. There's videos of that. Yeah, 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 yeah.
That'd be kind of cool if you did that. Just
Yeah.
like go to a racetrack and like feel how that feels, because I bet you it feels like so
Cause
gnarly.
yeah, 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 like you see the training and stuff on the drivers because they have to get their neck is what needs to be
Yeah,
very
right.
stiff, especially with the G forces that they're dealing with.
Yeah, facts. Yeah, I couldn't even imagine how painful it would be after, because like even with rock climbing, because you have to like look up, and I'm not even using my neck, but like using the neck to look to your next hold, you know? And then the next day I'm like, oh my entire trap and necks hurt,
Mm,
you know? So like imagine the G forces on your neck as you're driving, and then you're like, oh, like holding your head steady,
yeah,
and
yeah,
then you
yeah.
get like, what's that gonna feel like the next day? You should try it and let us know, bro, because I'm so interested. Like, I don't want to do that, but like that'd be cool if you did
Right, right.
that. And
I
like,
think the other aspect that I like is, I mean, it's a very dangerous sport. So
yeah,
it's
yeah,
accidents
that's
are very crazy. It can be
yeah.
crazy. Yeah. But that's
Why are
also
we
the other
so?
thing about the other thing is also like improving safety. Even though the speed is there, but you're
Uh,
still trying to improve it so that like there was some crazy crashes before and like the whole thing caught on fire, but the driver was able to get out and be
that's
okay.
impressive.
That's
Yeah, yeah.
crazy stuff. Before people
But
died, like
imagine,
people have died
yeah,
in
totally.
F1.
But imagine like what they like invented because of those things, and they gave
Hmm.
to other people.
Yeah.
You know, they're like, oh, here's now a better fire suit for firemen.
Hmm.
Just by doing these
Yeah,
things.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Wait,
No,
right.
it's kind of like other ways too, where how to make the car faster. Then the carbon fiber stuff like came from rockets, right?
Oh,
Like
that's
that
cool.
technology then got into the cars. So it's like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's just
And then
interesting to see.
can we add that to our vehicles and like how to make things lighter, stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that.
Mm-hmm.
It's yeah, it's so weird to think because you're like the danger aspect of it. Why are we so obsessed with like pushing ourselves to the like closeness of death? You know what I mean? Like like we name like UFC, so like okay, you're gonna get knocked out, you can get like killed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not you, nobody's ever died, but like getting a head kick seems like a bad day, you know? Or like free soloing, they fall off the cliff, they die, and then like this thing F1, it's like you hit a wall and you're dead.
Mm-hmm.
Like we have such a weird fascination about pushing ourselves to the limit of that without actually dying.
Yeah,
You know,
I mean,
before you die, yeah, you
you
know,
know, I think that's just part of the human nature. That's the only way that we evolve. I mean, even doing space stuff, people have died,
mm,
right?
yeah, yeah, true,
Even I mean, like simple thing as Europe. Let's say the Europeans going and trying to explore the rest of other parts of the world. That's kind of, I think a lot of ships didn't make it, right? That's part of the whole
right, yeah, yeah, true.
exploration, or these are the risks that are involved.
But it's funny too because it's like with rock climbing, right? I want to do an outdoor rock climb,
Mm-hmm.
and Tara's like, "Oh, you can get really hurt by doing them." Like, for sure you could, but like I just want to try it and like do it as safely as possible. And she's like, "I would never do it. Like it's for a rock. It makes no sense, right?" But like we wouldn't put ourselves in that zone. Like I'm not gonna fight in the UFC, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But like we have a fascination with other people doing that, which is crazy to me. It's like, you know, it's like you put
Right,
yourself on
right,
the
right.
line.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
will be entertained by it,
Mm-hmm.
but I will not subject myself to it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you know what this is really like? Another similarity: reality TV shows, bro. Like we're watching
Mm-hmm.
when we watch reality TV, we're like, I would never go on this. Like
Yeah.
we're watching Temptation Island right now. Have you heard of it?
Yeah,
Temptation
yeah,
Island.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I
All right,
heard of
so
it,
like,
but
all
like,
right, so basically, there's like couples who have been together for a long time, and they want to put themselves to the test, right?
okay.
So they go on this thing, and they split up, and then the show hires a bunch of tempters, like
Mm-hmm.
males and females, to like tempt them away from their significant other. And we're like, we love it. It's so dramatic, it's crazy, but we're like, we'd never be on the show. We'd never want to associate with somebody on the show. So it's like bleed for my entertainment, bro. You know what I mean? Or
Right.
gladiator times, bro. You know, like
Yeah,
they
yeah,
go
yeah, yeah.
there and like
Right,
watch
right.
them die. But
Mm-hmm.
it's weird. Like if you were an alien race, you'd be like, we're the weirdest species who's solely self-obsessed. We're watching shows about ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
there's unless you're like into nature shows, like nature documentaries, like, oh, it's cool. You're trying to like explore, learn different things, you know? But like F1, you know, like, oh, let's see the human
Mm-hmm.
drive around in this thing. Like, let's see the human fight in UFC. Let's see the human
Right,
rock
right,
climb, you
right.
know?
Yeah, yeah,
It's a weird like self-absorption that we have going on.
yeah.
Yeah. It's
Which
kind of
is
weird when we think
interesting.
about it, right? You're like,
Yeah.
especially with reality TV, like sometimes it hits us. We're like, why am I watching a person live their life? I'm so confused. But it's
Mm-hmm.
so entertaining. You're just like invested, you
Right.
know? Yeah. I really think that not to like totally make this about aliens, but like if aliens were to come and like, because they're like, oh no, aliens are gonna take over the Earth. It's like I would want to be entertained. Like I would come to Earth and be like, this is the craziest stuff I've ever seen in my life.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Just find the thing that we're like the Las Vegas of the universe. You know what I mean? Just like, what do you want to see? That's crazy, bro. You know,
Right,
like
right, right.
want to see monkeys like drive as fast as they can, almost die. You're like, yeah, let's go do it. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
It's weird. I think that like, man, life is super sick. Like, but like you can be trapped by, but like this perspective of like, oh, life is
Mm-hmm.
super sick, right? But it's like it's so weird to think that there are other people living the exact same world, living in the exact same world, but like totally different perspective. Like, oh my God, it sucks.
Yeah, 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 of
You
course.
know what I mean? But you're
Yeah.
like, wow, like what are you seeing that I'm not seeing, bro?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. And anything else about F1 before I get into how dumb I am?
No, I mean it's just the start of the season, so I got a whole year to go.
Oh, that's great. Like I didn't even know it started until you messaged me last night about the thing. Started
Yeah,
in Australia. When's it gonna end? Like,
in December.
well, it's a long time.
They
Oh,
do take
okay.
I think a month break in the summer. So
But how long is this between? So like, December
it's
till
not like
now, so maybe
races.
2 months.
Some races are like 1 week apart. Some
Mm,
of them are 2 or 3 weeks apart. So and then they have a summer break for like a month, and
okay.
then back
Okay.
again from September to like just the beginning of December. That's what I
Wait,
last
wait.
checked. Yeah.
What before I get into the next thing? Why didn't you get into like basketball or football? or like any of that stuff. You know what I mean? Like there's other sports. There's like generally held sports that everybody loves. Like, oh, football, it's NFL season. You're like, I didn't really understand it. I don't care. Just go watch Kendrick Lamar. You know what I mean?
Right,
But
right, right.
like, what is the like? Why did you get deterred from those things?
I think it's. I mean, they didn't interest me as much. It's just like throwing a ball, right? And trying to catch a
Right?
ball.
That's what I thought. That's exactly what I thought too. That's exactly what I thought too. It's funny because like Terrell sent me these memes of like these sports guy, like my husband and me kind of thing, and like, oh, I'm so into sports. She's like, I'm so glad you're not into sports. I'm like, I don't get it either. Like, you're just
Mm.
throwing the ball into a hole. Okay,
Right,
you
right,
know?
right.
You know why football was started though? Did you
American football?
ever?
Why?
Yeah, yeah. Because after World War II, I think it was, they needed something to like recreate that military feeling of like, oh, we're gonna dominate the battlefield. That's why it's like plays and like you all have your positions and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like like they go on the map and they're like, okay, you throw to this person, go there. They're trying to like mimic that sensation of like wartime because we're not in wartime, so it's like let's just utilize that for
Mm,
something else.
okay.
But it's like it's still just a ball, bro. You know?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I don't know. Unless they were killing each other, I'd be like, oh, this looks crazy. I'll watch this, But not like,
Right.
yeah. Although there are some like really crazy ones that I've seen that I'm just like not into. Like there's like these Russian ones, like MMA fights in a car. I'm like, nah, dude. Like, what are we doing? Like they'll start into the car seat and they'll fight, and you're just like, what? That's weird.
Okay, I don't know.
You know what I mean? But I'd be like, as an alien, you'd be like, dude, this is crazy. I can see whatever I
Right, right.
want over here. Like, what are we
Sure.
doing? Anyways, so last week I mentioned how I was like joking around. You were like, oh, I don't really use like Advil and stuff, and then like, oh, like yeah, Tara doesn't either, and then I was like, yeah, but I'm like a shaman. I like if as long as the side effects isn't that bad, I will. Um, no, I'm okay. Just in case you're like, oh, is you
Uh,
tell me you're not okay? No, I'm totally fine. No, I'm fine. But like, I was like, yeah, okay, as long as the side effects aren't that bad, sure, I'll keep taking it, right?
mm,
So when I had these allergies, I was taking like the Sinus Plus, which is like Advil plus sinus medicine, and then I was like, oh, these don't seem good. Like, I don't know if I should be taking this every day, right? Because like you and Tara were like, oh, don't do it. And then I went to the pharmacist, and then they were like, yeah, it's totally fine. Just you're taking one a day. I was like, yeah, one a day, and like, yeah, that's totally fine. So I think like last week or something, I bought new chips. I hadn't eaten them in a while, and I was
mm,
like eating them, and I'm like, oh man, my stomach really hurts, like cramps, like real lot of pain. And I'm like, okay, maybe it's just the chips. So I threw out the chips, and then I ate. Then I took an Advil again because I'm like, oh, okay, like I'm feeling pretty sore, do a lot of activities, whatever, whatever. And then I was like starting to feel an acidic feeling, and I was like, oh crap, wait, is it the chips or the Advil? So I
mm,
Googled the Advil, and it's like, yeah, it will like wreck your stomach over time. And then I freaked out. I was like, oh my God, did I ruin my stomach? So I was asking her because like I hadn't felt this before from
mm,
taking Advil. So like maybe the accumulation was like messing me up. And then she was like, that's why I told you not to take it, bro. And and I was like, oh my God, like, and do I have an ulcer? I was like freaking out. And she's like,
mm,
no, you're fine. Like taking it once a day is not the best. Like she wouldn't recommend it,
mm,
but the pharmacist, being like, yeah, you could take it once a day. You're right, you can, but like it is messing with your body.
mm,
And I didn't realize that. Like that's weird that the pharmacist was like, yeah, one day you're totally fine. And then I started to feel side effects. I'm like, what is this? And then Tara's like, that's why you don't take it every day.
mm,
You know what I mean? But like, look at those two paradigms, bro, of like the natural approach, like where you're like, I don't like to take it, and then the pharmaceutical approach. And then I was like, why would they tell me it's okay? And she's like, they're pharmacists. They sell drugs, And it's like, oh yeah, that is their job to sell like not the natural solution, not like, hey, drink some more water or like relax, whatever, you
mm,
know, like take these pills and you'll be okay. And it's just like, is this the society? Like I even got conned into it. It's like, is this a society we built for ourselves? Crazy,
mm.
Like I don't know. Like it feels like a weird hoodwink. You're like, why didn't you just tell me in the beginning that there are some crazy side effects to it? Not crazy, but like there's some side effects. You know what I mean? Like steer me in the right direction.
Sure,
Uh,
right. But I think that these side effects are written on these boxes. No.
no, they're not. They're not, dude. That's why I was like, oh yeah, it's totally fine. I
Mm,
had to Google it, and then like seeing like some Reddit threads like, yeah, it does mess up your stomach, or like a Quora question. I didn't know
Okay.
if it was real. I was just like, I think this is it, but it's like me thinking it was the chips and then like feeling it again. I was like, okay, I didn't eat the chips, so why am I feeling the sensation
Hmm.
again? And it's like it's totally the thing. It's like I wonder how much of our world is fully based off of consumerism. Like like um like capturing you. It's not about like the good of this is gonna sound so negative. It's not the good of humanity, but it's like the good of interests.
Hmm.
You know? Or am I just like totally off base? And you're like, no, that makes no sense.
Mm,
Because that
it
was a weird
depends
example.
on certain fields. I would say it depends on certain fields. And even with the pharmacist, I'm not sure uh, there what the rules are because you're. I don't know what kind of like a doctor is different than a pharmacist, right?
True. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
I would more recommend a doctor than a pharmacist, right? If in that scenario.
You're right. You're right. But then there are other cases of like doctors like prescribing the wrong thing, and then it's like, or like it could have been mitigated through another means. So, for example, like with the allergies, right? And
Hmm.
I was taking the Advil because of the allergies, and so because I was having this histamine response, Tara was like, maybe you're just there's too much like accumulation of like allergen particles in our apartment. So we got these air filters for every room, and my allergies went away. But I was
Hmm.
relying on like the pills to like subside those sensations, right?
Hmm.
But it's like why didn't we look at you know what I mean? It's like what's the holistic approach here versus like maybe you don't really need those things. Maybe it's just like one thing that you're doing that's completely wrong. You know?
Hmm.
That's what I mean. It's like we are so is it like the simple solution? Is it the commercial solution? Because those things aren't like those things are essentially free. Just like, okay, clean up your space. Oh, cool, they went away.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? But like we don't think in that pattern of like what is the most I don't know, simple solution, you know? There's always a
Again,
commercial
that
aspect to
it becomes too in that sense it's too individualistic. So you would have
it.
to actually confirm these things. Right now, you know sure you did that, but like to actually confirm that these are things that are actually going to clear up your allergies. Then it's an individualistic solution you're asking for. Someone that would go and check out your house. Someone that would what I mean. There's so much
That's
actual
fair.
layers to that. Then
What I'm really getting at here is like, is this a conspiracy that I'm like feeling, or am I just like, oh, that's why I'm asking like,
no,
is there
because
something?
I
You know what
don't
I mean?
feel like that. I think that the doctors that I've had
Hmm.
have never prescribed me drugs unless it was like super serious on something. But generally, he's like, you don't. If you need it, take it. Don't take it if you don't need it. Like that kind of thing.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So it
Yeah.
depends on, I guess, if you have good doctors. There's probably going to be good and bad doctors out there, right? Who are actually willing to understand their patients.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. But why shouldn't they? Why aren't they all like that? You know what I mean?
I think I don't want to say that. Like, is it a 90-20 or 90-10 thing, right? Or 80-20
Mm.
thing, right? You can't really say that till. And that's why people get like some serious stuff. People get like second opinions.
Oh, interesting. Oh, yeah. I know what you mean. So it's like the police officer approach where people are like, oh, police officers are bad. It's like, no, you're just hearing the one case out of the. Did you hear about the mundane thing where they just like
Yeah.
helped a old lady across the street? You don't hear those things, you
Right.
know? Yeah, that's fair. Okay. Okay, I will concede to that one. Maybe there is no weird conspiracy with that one. It's just like depends on who you go to. Most people are good, you know.
Hmm.
All right, explain this one to me then. Have you ever calculated the minimum wage and how much you can like survive off that?
Sure.
But let us do the calculation today. Because Tara was like, we were in the Apple store just waiting, and then she's like, I wonder what minimum wage is. And then we are just like calculating, we're like, oh my God, dude, how do people like why are we set up in this game? You
Hmm.
know? So like you want to pull out your calculator? Me?
Sure. Yeah, on my phone.
All right. So minimum wage is like 17.25. Okay.
Yeah.
Times, they don't even get 40 hours. It's
Mm-hmm.
37. Well, some people do get paid lunch. But anyways, let's say they don't get paid lunch. So it's
Sure.
like 37.5.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's how much you make per week. What's that so far?
637.
637 times 4, because
Mm-hmm.
it's 4 weeks in a month, times 12.
It should be. I know it's 4 weeks a month, but just do times 52. Let me do that again. So
Oh, sure, sure,
17
sure. Okay, cool, cool. Yeah, that's smarter.
times, was it 17 times 37.5?
Yeah.
1 week times 52 weeks. Yeah, 33.
33K. 33K. Okay, now let's go back to um, minimum wage times 37.5 times 2, because that's per paycheck.
So 37.5. Wait,
Times,
times,
yeah,
what were you saying?
17.25.
17.25.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Um, and then actually we'll do the month. So times 4. So like how much do you make a month, let's say? Because it's technically 2 paychecks.
25.87.
Okay, 25.87. I don't even know how I could come close to paying off my basic bills, like with my activities and like all that stuff, plus
Sure.
groceries, dude. Like, have you been to Costco? It's like we're spending like six hundred
Mm-hmm.
dollars every time we go. We're like, dog, what is this? You know?
Mm-hmm.
It's like that's the rigging for me. It's like if you are in that field, that feels like, you know what I mean? I guess so
Yeah, yeah,
that's why they're like, what's the living wage? What's the minimum wage?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
All right, disprove me on that one. Maybe you're like, you know what, but maybe and that's not even tax. You still have to minus tax from that. That's like
Sure. Yeah,
before
yeah, yeah.
tax. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
not even 2000. It's like less than 2000, or like let's say it is 2000.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, how do you own a car? How do you pay for gas? How do you pay
Yep.
for groceries?
Mm-hmm.
And now prices are rising even more. What are we doing?
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's like some rigged. No?
Uh, you have to understand like why some of these things were designed in the first place. Is there an issue with them where people are who shouldn't be on minimum wage or getting minimum wage? Yeah, I agree with that. That's an issue. Generally,
Oh, wait,
these
what do
things
you
were
mean?
designed
Who shouldn't
for.
be?
What I mean is like normally, when minimum wage is designed for students,
Okay.
so they're just working as their students and they're making money, but they're not. It's not like supposed to be a living wage, right?
Oh, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. You start off in that as your career, and then you're supposed to like exit that
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
like level up.
Right.
This is what you're saying. Okay,
Yeah.
continue.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm
So
on the
the
same page as you, but I
right.
have one switch. Go ahead.
Yeah. The issue is when people are actually living only off of that. That's the
Yeah,
problem. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so with the mass immigration or like influx of new people, you see that there's like a ton of like Filipino people at Tim Hortons, and you're like, dog, if you're only making minimum wage, what are we doing out here?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't understand. You like career people who like the Apple Store people as we're there. Like, I don't know how much you guys are making, bro. Like, I couldn't imagine it being too much, you know. But like, that's their life now. You know what I mean? That's their career. And like,
Mm-hmm.
I get what you're saying. Like, you want to level up, but there aren't that many jobs as compared to the amount of people there are. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like unemployment is at such a high. Like, maybe this is what everyone means when they're like our system is broken. When you like calculate it like that, you're like, this doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and like some people are gonna be like, yeah, but also you get like subsidies if you have a family, so like they'll give you extra money if you're
But
only
it's
on
not
minimum
enough.
wage.
It's not enough. Yeah.
That's what I mean, bro.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm like. So and then you want to tell people like, yeah, let's have a family, but it's like, how do you do that, bro?
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand. You know how much freaking daycare is? That's
Yep.
crazy,
Mm-hmm.
right? So like this is the rigging. I feel like that like you're right. It was set up in order to be wow, we started the podcast like really inspirational and now
I'll,
it's like
I'll
dude,
I'll
this is
say it like
okay.
this.
No, no,
I'll say it
no.
like this. I don't think it's a designed rigging. It was the rigging in the sense of people exploiting it to be
Yes.
able to pay less, workers less. So that would be. I don't know if that's necessarily government, right? That's more the capitalism problem. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
100%. And then it's like they have like the owners of these companies have like millions and millions of dollars, bro. They have so much money
yeah,
they can't even spend it.
yeah.
And then you have people like living off minimum wage are like, dude, you're enslaved. It's done. You
Hmm.
know? And like, okay, do you know why people had children back in the day? Like a tons of children. I heard this on a podcast. I was like, yeah, that's actually so accurate. Like why
Why?
our
What
parents
was
had
their reasoning?
okay, so if you come from a third world country where you have no retirement, like in those countries you don't have any retirement money, typically you'll have a ton of children in hopes that one of them will have enough money to take care of you when you're older. That's why like when third world, live with me when you're old, that's the mentality, right? Um, but now that we're in the Western society, you don't really need that anymore because like you have pension plans, all that stuff, and it's like it's more like the child is like a bit of a burden on your like you know what I mean? You're like, ooh, that's not saying
Hmm.
don't have children. I'm just saying it's like realize the game that's being played here. Like as one single person, I couldn't even imagine living off a minimum wage. And then
Hmm.
you throw children in that, I'm like, dog, I don't even know.
Hmm.
Even if you have two people living off minimum wage, it's like that's still super tight, bro.
Right.
You know? So
Sure.
like what I mean is why is there such a strong sense of like Elon Musk, right? Like procreate, the human race is like reducing. We need more children. People are not having children. It's like, oh, there's so many of us, and like the system is not set up in that way. Like, it's such a disconnect between like reality and what you're trying to say here. Like, you can do that because you have millions of dollars, Elon Musk, but like having 20 children, like Nick
Hmm.
Cannon, is crazy, you know? But they
Right.
want you to be that way, and it's like, why do you want me to be that way?
Hmm.
You know? I don't know. Like maybe like I'm just looking for an opposing like devil's advocate here. Like maybe you see a side I don't, or we totally agree, and we're like, yeah, they're like out to lunch,
Well,
bro.
they're not really discussing the issues of why people are not having kids. They're just saying that they need more people to have kids because they need workers.
That's so dumb. That's so dumb. Like that's so. But that is literally the thing about the retirement. It's like it's just a different thing now. It's like yeah, like I don't need children to help me with retirement because I have an RRSP. All right, cool. So now we need more children to be workers. It's like that's so dumb. Like
Hmm.
you're just swapping like you're treating them as a resource, rather than like because we talked about intergenerational trauma, right? So if it's like if you have the child in order to push some ideology or agenda on the kid, that kid's gonna grow up being like, "What the hell did I? Why was I born?" But if you have a kid because you're like, "Oh, I really love kids," it's like,
Hmm.
"Oh, that kid's gonna grow up in love."
Hmm.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah.
Versus scarcity,
Sure.
you know? And that's the intergenerational trauma that'll keep being pushed down because they'll feel like, "Oh, I'm just a resource to you. You don't
Hmm.
even love me." You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And it's like, this is 2025, bro. We don't need to be running that weird operating system,
Yeah.
you know?
Right. Hmm.
Especially when you see like the rigging. That's weird to me.
Hmm.
Like the 33K, it's like, dude, I don't even know like what you could do. Like forget jujitsu, bro. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. Um, anything else about that? You think I'm right? You think I'm wrong?
Uh, I say partially, right? Again, it's like
Okay.
I mean, I worked at McDonald's, right? That was when I was a
Yeah.
student, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Then moved on to
But
other.
there's lifers there, but there's lifers there.
Hmm.
We no shade, no shade. But like we go to Metro like as
Yeah,
kids.
yeah, yeah.
You remember we used to walk to Metro. We're like, oh yeah, let's go buy some stuff. And I'm seeing the same people. Like
Hmm.
I'm
Hmm. Hmm.
you know I'm going back now. And I'm like, oh, you're still here.
Yeah.
So it's like I don't understand how that worked. Unless they found like a groove or like I don't know.
There are people that become complacent, and that's the other issue. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, that's actually, before we move on, because you're right, the complacency. Okay, the complacency is crazy because when you think about this, it's like you can't even fault them
Hmm.
because like you're like, oh, why don't you just like pull yourself up by your bootstraps and like all that stuff. It's like if I was faced with that situation, I would think that I was defeated. I'd be like, yeah, there's nothing I could do. This is my life. Like complacency. It's not really. It's yeah, it's complacency, but it's like complacency is basically
Hmm.
defeatist mindset. You're like, oh, this is it. This is my life. You know what I mean? Like we know people who like could easily like you don't need to be there, bro. Like
Hmm. Yeah, yeah.
you know, but it's like, but they're like in that, and it's like there's no fire to move past it because you're like, I'm just in it, and that's my life, and this is life. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? They're like easy for you because that's your life, or like this is life. This is how it. These are the cards I've been dealt. It's like not really, bro. Like you could
Hmm.
really change that. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. The complacency thing is like, but like I can understand it,
Hmm.
but it's like you need a paradigm shift to like get out of that mode. It's like you need to rewrite that story, bro. Because you're right. A lot of people will just be like, yeah, this is just it. I'm comfortable enough being like da 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 da.
Hmm.
But then the trap is like, who are like, if I'm comfortable, who are you to tell me to move?
Yeah. I mean that's kind of the thing. Yeah. The only
Right?
thing. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
But it's like, but it's a trap though, bro. You see it, right? Like, this is making no sense. The math's not mathing.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. I mean, or like government has to get involved and make it, push it up towards that living wage. But I don't know if you can just do that.
Right?
Right.
This is the game. It's like, all right, well, you have to play the rules of the game. So it's like, they're not going to move. But this is why this is why I'm so into UAP disclosure. Because if you just give us the free energy, all of this will go away. Because
Hmm.
it's like, it's just resources. The only reason why we have like different pays and like, why does like if I live in this giant mansion and I live in an apartment, why is the mansion more expensive? Well, utility costs, driving there, you need a car, blah, 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 right? But it's like all those things go away if those resources basically became free, right? Like if you didn't have to pay if I didn't have to keep paying for gas or
Hmm.
hydro bills because the energy was paid for, like, well, what would I need to, you know what I mean? Like there'd be no cost.
Hmm.
But maybe, and this is Tara's belief, and I'm just like, I just don't want to believe that. But I'm seeing it, which is like, if we're talking about the game, maybe the people that are hiding the free technology don't want that out because of exactly what we're saying. It's like you are literally enslaving people through like debt, bro.
Hmm.
Like they're just defeated. They're like, oh, I can't move past this. You know what I mean? And that's
Hmm.
good for them, not good for the people. But it's like, but it's good for like a small minority of people. You know?
Sure. Yeah.
You know what's crazy about that though? Having this conversation, just like looking at the numbers, this was like a logical argument, right? But when you hear conspiracy theorists, they're like, the 1% are keeping you down. It's like, dog, how? What are you talking about? Like they went too high level with the thing. You know what I mean? But if you just
Yeah.
like, let's just look at minimum wage. You're like, oh, I
Yeah.
couldn't pay that,
Yeah.
you know?
Hmm.
So it's like, it's, it can sound conspiratorial because it is conspiratorial, bro. Like it doesn't make any sense that Elon Musk is making like billions of dollars and like minimum wage people cannot
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
make ends meet, you know?
Right. Right.
Or even without the free energy thing, it's like Bernie Sanders saying like let's tax the corporations so that we can have more money to give back to the people.
Hmm.
Like maybe that. I don't know. Do you see the tariff thing with they're saying like we were able to give money to people during COVID. We should do that again for this tariff thing if it comes through because like people have a hard time, so we should give more money away. Jagmeet Singh, no.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Okay, so my question is where'd the money come from, bro? If you had the money the whole time, why didn't you just give it to us?
Well, yeah, no, I understand that, but I think that this is going to cause inflation
Oh, I
as
see.
it did
By
the first
giving
time.
And even that's crazy, bro. It's like, what game are we playing? What's this inflation game? You
Hmm.
know? It's like, okay, I want to help people. Let's give them more money. All right, well, that's going to break our economy. Okay, so your economy is based off of us staying poor, right?
Well, it's a convoluted network, our economy.
No, no, but that's true though, right? It's like
Hmm.
I need you to stay poor Because if I give you more money, it's going to cause inflation, which is going to raise prices.
Yeah.
So, well, that makes no sense,
Mm-hmm.
right? I don't know. Weird,
Yeah.
weird to me.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. All right. On a more positive note, have you ever heard of the Alchemist, the book?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't remember what it's about, but I've heard of it. It's been
Okay.
it's an old book, right?
Yeah, super old book.
Yeah.
So that book I read that like in 2016, I think, and like it has stuck with me. Just like this one line from the book, which is like, once you decide where you want to go, life will move in that direction to help you get there,
Mm-hmm.
as long as you're committed. You know what I'm saying? So, uh, I think it was last week when I was talking about the jujitsu stuff and like me reaching out to Carlos, stuff like that, right?
Right.
And I was I was talking to I was telling one of my like friends about it, and they were like, "Oh, you're so connected." I'm like not really. Like I'm not connected. You know, I guess from the outside, but it's like, how did you build that connection? It's like I just put myself in the position to be there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like the story of how I met Carlos is like Adrian was teaching Montessori to his kid, and
Right.
then I was training with Adrian, and then Adrian was like, "Yo, you know the UFC world champion? I'm teaching his kid." I'm like, "Oh, that's cool." I had no idea about who this guy was, right? So then he's like, we were just like walking in the area, and then he's like, "Oh, I swear that's the gym of the UFC champion," right? And then I was like, "Oh, that's cool. Like martial arts. I like martial arts. Let's find out more about it." And then Alex was living there in that area at the time, and he made a conversation with him. And then Carlos like, "Yeah, like if you want to be an instructor or whatever, like let's meet up." But like Alex was too nervous to go by himself, I guess. So he wanted to bring us. So I was
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, cool. And then when I met Carlos, I had no idea. Like, people are like, oh, that's starstruck. Like, oh, but I was like, this is just some random dude. Like, I didn't watch
Mm-hmm.
any of your UFC videos. Like, I don't know who you are. So he's like, yeah, what's up, buddy? And whatever. And I'm like, all right, cool. Like, what do you know? And I was like showing him some stuff. And he's like, oh, that's awesome. Like, you want to come teach here? And I was like, oh, yeah, sure. And then I went home and Googled. I was like, oh, dude, this guy's like legit, bro. But like,
Right.
you see
Right.
what I
Right.
mean? It's just like the pieces were that like I didn't search that out. It's just like accidental
Mm.
moments of meeting these people, right? And then even with like GN, right? He's like this famous knife fighting YouTuber, and like I reposted a video of his, and then he messaged me and he was like, "Hey, you just reposted my video." I'm like, "Oh, dude, yeah, I love your stuff, whatever." And he's like, "Oh, you teach in Scarborough?" And I'm like, no. I just like have the name Scarborough Soldier Club there because like it's something I want to do in the future. And like, where do you teach? And he's like, oh, I'm in Markham. I'm like, dog, what? I'm like, I
Mm-hmm.
had no idea. It turns out it's right next to you. And I was like, well, that's right. That's so small world. And then
Right.
he's like, yeah, if you're ever over, like I teach this class. It was literally the morning of. And he's like, I teach this class Mondays and Saturdays. Like if you want to
Mm-hmm.
come over, whatever, whatever. And then that night I showed up and then he's like, oh, new student, like, hey, what's up? Who are you? And I'm like, oh, I'm the dude who messaged you. And he's like, whoa. And he's like, nobody does that. Like,
Mm.
kudos to you because nobody does that. I'm like, does what? He's like, show up. And I'm like, dog, my life is showing up, bro. Like,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
said, like,
Yeah.
oh, why don't you go see, let's see what's up, you know? And, and then, like, you're like, oh, you're so well connected. But it's like, it's not really. You're just like, these are the things, you know?
Right.
Like,
Right.
you F1, you know? You like F1. So you're
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, I'm just going to go to the F1 track. And you're like, you meet some dude. And you're like, I don't know who this dude is. And they're
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, I'm actually the race car. You know what I mean? Like, being in those situations really helps propel you into that world, you know? And
Yeah.
then but it makes me think of like the alchemist of like the world will move.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
just like I kind of want to go here, and the world's like, yeah, sure, let's just push you in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, hey, you're gonna say something?
No. No. No.
Oh, okay. So then I was like, so then I messaged Carlos like, oh, I really want to like teach jujitsu, but I can't as a blue belt, whatever, whatever. And Carlos was like, yeah, you could do it, buddy. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's on you. I was like, all right, cool, sure. So I reached out to GN. I was like, because I knew he wanted to do grappling. So I was like, hey, do you want to do grappling? I was just like, me and you, bro. Like, I will work with you. So he's like, yeah, for sure. And I was like, all right, cool. I'm stoked. So I was like, I can't come Mondays because I need to swap out my classes. I'll go Saturdays instead. He's like, yeah, whatever you need, bro. So yesterday was Saturday. So I show up and he's like, are you ready for this? I'm like, yeah, man. I'm just thinking like, yeah, I'm just gonna teach you, right? I'm gonna teach you. Did you see the
Right.
highlight video I posted?
I saw something. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so this is the backstory. So I'm like, I'm gonna teach you, bro. And then as I go in, I see all the training partners there. Like we're all, and they're like, hey, what's up, Irvil? Yeah, yeah. And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, I'm so excited for today. I'm like, excited for what? Like, what? We guys talking about? And then he's like, and then like people come up to me like, yo, I'm so excited for this jujitsu thing. I'm like, what are you talking about? And then class starts, and then Paulo goes like, yeah, everyone. So like, I'm gonna teach like the first hour, and then the last half hour, Irvil's gonna take over. I was like, oh, oh, not just you. And he looks at me,
Right.
I'm like, sounds good. And then like I teach it, and it's like, and then with that, it's like I've always loved the Gracie Jiu Jitsu stuff, right? So I was like, all right, cool, this would be great. Like I'm sharing the art. So I posted it, and then like here on Gracie like watched it and he liked it and he commented on it. I'm like, oh, it's so sick, right?
Hmm.
But like it's all just doing that kind of stuff, bro. Like I could at that moment when he was like, oh yeah, you're gonna teach it. I was like, not today. In that moment I was like, what do I say?
Hmm.
But I was like,
Right.
okay,
Right. Right.
sure, sure,
Yeah.
let's
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
it, bro.
Hmm.
But you sprung that on me last minute. And the craziest part is when we finished, they were like, oh, that's amazing. And then I found out he's like, other people were like, he was talking about it all week. He was telling us all. I was like, bro, what? Like, I thought it was you. Like, you were telling everyone, like, yo, make sure you come to Saturday. Like, Irvil's gonna be teaching. Like, what? You know what I mean? Like,
Right. 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 Right.
that's the universe again. I was like, okay, sure, let's do
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
bro.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird?
Hmm.
Yeah, but I feel like that's the hack, bro. Like all these people were talking about like the minimum wage thing and feeling trapped and like how do you do it? It's like that's how you do it, bro. You just
Hmm.
like I don't know what this is gonna do, but let's just see what happens. You know?
Yeah. I just
That's yeah.
taking chances. That's what that is.
Right, 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 right. I 100% agree with you. I 100% agree with you. But like the reason why I say it as like life is the biggest video game is
Hmm.
because that's easier to think about than take chances. Cause, cause of like again, it's like I'm trying to speak to the lowest common denominator here. So it's like I'm not taking a chance because a chance implies risk. I could be hurt.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like I could lose the situation, but it's like I'm not losing anything, bro. I'm just
Right. I see
playing
what
the
you're
video
saying.
game. You know
Sure.
what I mean?
Sure.
And then like if you're in that zone where you're trapped, it's like I'm just playing the video game, bro.
Hmm.
Oh, I lost this level, whatever. I lose many levels in video games.
Hmm.
But it's not like if you imply chance, like taking a chance, it's like that's me. But it
Hmm.
wasn't me. I was like, I'm playing a video game right now. Like when he's like, Irvil, you're gonna teach. I'm like, playing the video game. You know.
Hmm.
He said the really most interesting thing to me though. He was like at the end, he was giving me a bit of a debrief. He's like, you have imposter syndrome, and I'm like, yeah, that's why I trained so hard, bro. Because like he's like, but you're so good, and I'm like, yeah, but like I need to be that good to overcome me being like, am I fake? Because like during the thing, I'm like, all right, if you think that'll work, like I was showing this move, and the guy's like, I could elbow you in the face. I'm like, do it, but he couldn't do it, and he's like,
Right.
oh, well, it works. I'm like, but you wouldn't be able to do that unless you were like imposter syndrome,
Hmm.
Because I was like, is this wrong? I don't know. Try it,
Right.
you know? Yeah. But it's not all right. So like you're like, okay, maybe this is just like one example. You know what I mean? And like I found that like this is the exact same story for Tara too. She's like blowing up and stuff. And she's like so well connected. But it was literally just like, I like this person. I'm gonna go
Hmm.
reach out to them. And then like, hey, I have this small opportunity. Like, do you want to just like do my social media? She's like, yeah, for sure. You just want to be in that world. But like
Yeah.
she approached it very strategically, like I want to be in that world, like this is my mindset. Whereas I was like, I just want to see how far the game goes,
Hmm.
you know? But like I feel like that go-getter mindset is not for everyone. You know what I mean? Like it's the same thing. It's the same thing.
Hmm.
We're just
Hmm.
putting ourselves in the same situation, but like saying that I'm gonna go get this, it's so much energy. You know what I mean?
Well, I guess that's what you have to figure out about yourself. What works for you.
Mm. Because it's just a story you tell yourself at the end of the day.
Hmm.
We're doing the exact same thing. Like it's the exact same approach. I'm just like, there's a game. And she's like, no, I'm getting this.
Hmm.
But to me, that feels like, but you're right. It's like,
Again,
that's
it's
me.
each individual person has a different meaning of it
Right?
to them.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
totally,
Yeah.
totally, totally. So like, okay, going back to the alchemist, I'm like, how far? does this work? So I ended up booking. It's so funny. So like I have 2 weeks off at the end of this month after next week. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna go try. I think I told you before. I was like, I'm gonna
Yeah.
go
Yeah.
try Star, right? And then I cost calculated it. I'm like, dude, this is too much money. Like, what are you
Mm-hmm.
doing? This is gonna be like $2,000 for a week. And then Tara's like, well, why don't you just go for a shorter amount of time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, no, I was trying to put it off. Like, no, it's just maybe there's not the time, whatever. But then her, again, it's like the universe pushing you, like they're giving you signs. And I was like, okay, you're my sign. Like when she was like, why don't you just go? I'm like, okay, let me just see how much it's gonna cost for like 3 days. It's gonna be crazy. Like just gonna drive up, do the class, do the class, do the class, do the class, come back,
Mm-hmm.
like just like really push it. And it turned out to be like $500. I'm like, okay, cool. I can swing $500, just like a hotel room, whatever. And then doing like the week trial. But
Mm-hmm.
it's like, then that's going to happen again. It's like, who are you going to meet in Montreal? You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know, bro. Like, but let's just see where the game goes,
Right. Yeah.
you know? But I feel like that's with everyone, though. I feel like everyone's like, whoever's quote unquote successful,
Mm-hmm.
it's like they just kept doing that thing.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's the hack, bro. But we just don't do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's the hack. Like I was listening to Henry Gracie on a podcast, and he's like so successful now, business wise, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he was talking about him starting, and so I thought he was like so much older than me. He's only 5 years older than me. I'm like, dude, this guy, he projects himself like he's an old person, right?
Right.
But when he filmed those like Gracie videos, those Gracie online videos that I used to watch and like replicate, he was like 17, I think he said. I'm like, dude, I would have never thought you were 17. But he
Mm-hmm.
took over his parents' academy, his dad's academy at 17. And he's like, okay, I guess this is what we're doing. And then he was teaching all these like old business people, and those people were giving him business advice.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, oh, yeah, you just put yourself out there. Like, because you could have just like taught the class, left, you
Yeah.
know? But he was just like, oh, you know something I don't know, blah, blah, blah,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then like, again, it's like, okay, now I'm in these business circles, blah, 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 because it's like, you just kind of push life. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
But that can definitely go wrong too, though. Like, I feel like there are moments in my life where I'm like, oh, I'm glad I didn't go down that path. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's like it's a balance. Like,
Yeah. I mean, yeah. There is a balance, but
but you don't want that balance to be like, oh, I don't want to do it because
yeah, to the
this could go totally
detriment kind
wrong.
of thing. Yeah.
No, but I mean, like, it keeps you complacent if you use
Mm-hmm.
that as an
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
excuse, right? It's like, well, I don't want to do that because, like, you know, I don't know what the negative, what I'm saying? Like, using it as an excuse rather than like an actual warning sign.
Right.
Because there are definitely warning signs. Where like, ooh, don't do this, don't do this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But what if we all did that, man? Like, it doesn't matter what passion you're into. You know what I mean? Just
Sure.
like,
Sure. Sure.
honestly, like you like to paint. Like, I don't know, go to like the AGO and
Mm-hmm.
paint. Like Justin Bieber did that, right? He was like busking, and he posted the YouTube video of himself, and
Oh
then
yeah.
Usher
Yeah.
saw that. Like, dude, that's a crazy story. Usher saw it, and then like he signed him.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, what is this game we're all playing, bro? I'm just so confused. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
if we are just souls and bodies, if we're just like a mech suit with like
Yeah.
a
Mm-hmm.
soul inside, it's like what were we meant to do here? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
And is the thing we were meant to do just discover our passions?
Possible.
Because
Yeah.
right? Because think
Yeah.
about the highest form
Mm-hmm.
of living. It's like being enthralled by something, being in a flow state. You're just like,
Mm-hmm.
dude, this brings me to the closest flow state ever. So it's like, is that what we're meant to do? I mean, people talk about the meaning of life. It's like, yeah, just find things you like doing because you're living.
Right.
Like, would you agree, or is like, yeah, maybe there's no meaning.
I mean, if I think at it, scientifically, it's a bit different than that. But because we've now created this world, right? Like,
Yeah.
uh, if we're just evolved creatures, I mean, it's just hunting and eating and resting and hunting and eating. You know what I mean? Like,
No, for sure, 100% agree. So, but who was the first person to be like following their passions to be like, I wonder if I can invent a farm.
Mm-hmm.
That was their passion.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I feel like all of us are meant. Okay.
Well, something did that, right?
Yeah.
So something changed us in us to now lead us the way we were in this direction.
Yes. 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 Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And and scientifically, I read this book once. It was like called "The Brain and the Meaning of Life," and in it, they were saying that we are just dopamine chasers. We're like ants.
Mm-hmm.
Like ants just follow the scent and then we just go towards it. But our scent is dopamine, right? So like what gives you the most dopamine hit? It's finding the thing that gives you the flow state,
Mm-hmm.
like your passions, right? So with that, if you're just a dopamine chaser, maybe our whole goal is to just keep chasing dopamine. And by doing that, we'll naturally change the world and bring into reality like inventions.
Mm-hmm.
You know
Right.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like ideas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, all right, so if, like one lit candle can light an infinite number of
Sure.
candles. When I did that Gracie thing and like so there was a girl there and there's all these like tough men, right? So I was like, okay, I'm gonna partner with the girl because I'm friendly. I'm also
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
showing them what to do. So then as soon as I showed her, because it's like a magic trick, you're like, oh dude, because I opened with like, hold me down, bro, and then I just like roll out, and then I was showing her how to do it, and she just like muttered to herself, oh, I could use this, and I
Mm-hmm.
went, yeah, you could. Like
Right.
that's why, like, because it's meant for like the weaker person, right? Like, dude, you're a girl, like this is probably gonna happen to you at one point. No, no, let's knock on wood, it doesn't happen to you. But you know what I mean? Like me getting choked on top, like highly unlikely as compared to you getting choked at, like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like those terrible situations. And
Sure.
then when she learned it, she like I could see that spark of like empowerment, right?
Mm-hmm.
My passion bled onto her, and I don't even know what she's gonna do next. I'm like,
Sure.
yeah, just
Yeah.
like go find a school now, or like go do the thing that you want to do. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but that was the spark that built another spark. That'll
Yeah.
build another spark. That'll build
Yeah.
another spark. You know what I mean? And it's like, I think that's what we were meant to do. Like
Mm-hmm.
the person who invented, because you're like hunter gatherer, like totally. But then who's the first person who invented the farm? And then from the farm, we got the school, we got the agriculture, we got the you can chill at home, you don't have to hunt all day. Now we
I
have
mean, I
cities.
I was just thinking this too, right? This idea of us talking or discussing ideas. If we could bring it back, why is it called Socratic gamers? It's from Socrates. Like that was the
Yeah,
light
the thinking.
from that. Yeah.
Oh, dude, yeah, you're right. Oh, yeah, I didn't even think about that. I was like, what are you talking about right now? No, 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 you're right. Like, dude, Socrates died like how many thousands of years ago? Like,
Yeah.
I don't even know. But like that spark kept, is that
It's
what you
still
meant?
here. I mean, his name is still here. So it's like,
Yeah. You don't know what tiny spark you're gonna do, bro.
mm,
And he at the time, Socrates didn't even know, bro. He was just
yeah,
like, yeah, just I like hanging out and talking about philosophy.
yeah,
And then it's like, who knew his name would last thousands of years later simply because of his passion,
mm,
right? And it's
yeah,
like maybe
yeah,
that is what we're meant to do. Just like
mm,
light the entire world with our passions.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like
I
I don't
think I
see
agree
any
with
other
that.
option,
I think that's,
right?
yeah, I think that makes
Like
sense.
if we like lowest common denominator here, like
Yeah.
I'm not trying to make it spiritual, I'm not trying to make it
No, no.
flowery.
Mm-hmm,
Well, it's like what are we meant to do?
mm-hmm,
I don't know, just follow your flow. Like, okay, but what's the ramification of following my flow? Well, you inspire other people.
mm-hmm,
We change the world inadvertently all the time.
yeah,
Yeah. That's true, right? It's the Karate Gamers thing. Like I
yeah,
didn't yeah, you're right. It's like it's based off of a dude who we didn't even know, who
yeah,
was like thousands of years ago,
mm-hmm,
who just literally liked talking.
yeah,
Like, was it the Plato's? No, not Plato's allegory. The Republic.
mm-hmm,
So Socrates taught Plato, right?
yes.
And was the Republic about? Because I read the Republic, but it was just so boring. But was Plato talking to Socrates in the Republic?
I don't
Or was
remember, but like Socrates never wrote anything down. So it would be Plato that's writing it down based on their
okay.
discussions. Yeah.
So if you read the Republic, it's literally a podcast. I think I've said that like a long time ago when I finished
Maybe.
the
Yeah.
Republic because they're just talking, bro. And then people. built philosophies off of their conversations. Like literally, if you read it, it's just like
It's just the
them
transcript, bro. That's what he
analyzing.
was trying to do.
It's a transcript, bro. It's crazy. It's like when I read it, I was like, this is literally a podcast. Like you're just talking. What do you
Hmm.
think about the way of the world? I think this. Maybe the Romans shouldn't do that. And then people were like, oh, look at the way they said this. This becomes a new philosophy. It's like people deconstructed their thought process
Hmm.
from them just talking,
Right.
which is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I don't want to end in like a negative note. We should probably end it right there. But I do want, unless what time are you at? Do you gotta go?
No, no, no. I'm okay right now.
All right, cool, cool. Last thing, because I think it's important to bring up, and but it's negative. We should have ended. We should have ended on the positive, but whatever. You know, it is what it is. That's life. Um, the war on DEI. The thing you showing me off after the podcast. Like, I gotta write this down. We gotta talk about it,
Oh, right.
dude. That is super crazy. That like they are blaming everything on DEI, and
Hmm.
like the whites are like, oh, all of these like literally the way you said it was like, there were some white men who had really good jobs and positions and they lost it because of DEI. And I'm like, what are we talking about, bro? Like that is like straight up white supremacy, you
Hmm.
know? And it almost seems like there is now sparked in America this war against DEI, and then it fell over into Canada a little bit with the conservative leader. He's like, I don't see any other gender aside from two. It's like, I get it. I get what you're saying. Totally. Admittedly, I saw your point of view too, but now I'm like, just do you, bro.
Hmm.
If you're into that, do it, you know?
Right.
But it almost seems like they really want to make it stay, for lack of a better term, like white supremacist, you know?
Hmm.
You feel it too, right? Like, is that the new, like, is that the new, like, Jew and black? Like, what are we doing here, you know?
Right. 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 It's just what it seems like. Yeah. I'm like,
Yeah.
why attacking DEI doesn't make sense.
And one thing that they were saying and I saw it too, like it's at Yorkdale. So like one thing that they were saying was like, why are men and women sharing the same bathroom? At Yorkdale, there's like a universal bathroom thing where like men and women can share the same bathroom. Just don't use that bathroom, bro. That's it.
Hmm.
Like for me, I saw it as a cost perspective. I was like, oh, you're saving money because you don't have to make two bathrooms. You make
Technically,
one
yeah.
bathroom,
Yeah.
right? That's how I'm thinking. But like, they're like, oh, let's be inclusive. Like, okay, just don't use that. It's one bathroom out of the entire mall, but you're gonna look and fixate on that one bathroom.
Hmm.
Admittedly, when I first saw it during COVID, I was like, this is crazy. I was making posts about it, like, dude, what are we doing? Like, what blah, 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 right? For sure. But like, it is what it is, man. Sure, just don't use the bathroom. Like,
Hmm.
you don't have to hate on them and like try and bring them down or like, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Remember the time when it's like you can't drink from that black water fountain?
Hmm.
Nah, we obviously don't remember that time. But like you hear about that time, you
Sure.
know?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like that wasn't that long ago. It was like 19, what, 70, 69, something like
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't that long ago.
like less than 100 years.
Hmm.
And then those old people are just like, remember the good old days when we had segregation? And now we're like trying to go back to segregation. Like, what are you talking about, bro? You know?
Yeah.
That's what it feels like, though, right? It's like,
Right.
let's bring
Right.
back if you're a DEI person, you drink from that water fountain because I don't want your germs on me. It's like, what?
Hmm.
2025, bro. This is why we can't talk about aliens, bro. Because you're thinking about freaking white supremacy
Yeah,
now,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah. Oh yeah.
Who
It's
cares
a,
about,
hmm.
right, what?
No, no, that's the issue. That's it's I don't know why it's hate. There's more hate with this kind of stuff. That's the
Oh,
problem.
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. But I think it all ties back to that minimum wage thing. Because it's like, if you just keep people enslaved and fearful, "Oh, I can't pay my bills. Oh, how am I getting RSP? Oh man, I just can't make
This
ends meet."
is yeah. This is again. It was said in the movie, the economy movie. I forgot now what it was called, but it was who they're gonna blame.
Wait,
Minorities.
what?
Uh, the one with the crash. What's his name was in it? Um,
Oh,
I'm blanking on their names. There's a bunch of
ooh,
people in
is
that
it
movie,
recent
Housing
movie?
Crash.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Oh, dude,
remember,
yes.
remember
You
what he
did say
said?
that.
Yeah,
Oh my God, that's crazy. That was a
it's like
long time. 2008 Crisis.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And the direction
The Big
was
Short. The Big Short.
The Big Short, yeah. And then the
Yeah.
direction was like, well, they're gonna start blaming the minorities when actually, or illegals or minorities, when actually who they should be blaming is not that direction. They're not the ones that did this.
True, because it was the people in power who did this,
Yeah.
which are the white supremacists that they're trying to put back in power. Yeah, that's honestly, it's a weird, weird time right now. And like thinking about like 0 point energy, free energy, and like all that stuff, it's like we can't even come close to that. It's almost like we're coming to a head. Oh, actually, I heard this crazy thing. Um, let me. I have his Chris Bledsoe. Have you ever heard of Chris Bledsoe?
No.
Okay, so he is a dude who got contacted by UFOs, and he became super religious, and he was receiving visions. Basically, it's the story of like, but it's now he's still alive, and they're doing interviews with him. He was on the Sean Ryan podcast, and he was just basically having like a biblical experience. Like he met an angel or like God, but it was a UFO, and then it imparted like wisdom onto him, and then he's like, he says it's still with him, and like his neighbors can see the UFOs all the time over his house, whatever, whatever. But one thing that he said was in 2026, no, 2027, 2027 is when there's going to be a reckoning. Like he said it like a code in code, which is like the Sphinx sun is going to hit the gem, and then the whole world will get a new illumination. Sounds crazy, right? But allegedly, from his perspective, let's talk about biblical. People are like, "Oh, is this like the revelation, like the second coming of Christ?" You know, like
Mm-hmm.
the whole world. Basically, the angel or the UFO told him that humanity is on this crazy path towards like destruction. And by 2027, if we haven't fixed our ways, they're going to step in and like help correct things. Right. It sounds crazy. So in the UFO world, so that's more of like a biblical thing. They're talking about like religion and like all that, but they're tying into UFOs. In the UFO disclosure world, everyone's like, in 2027, we're going to have Project Bluebeam, which is like the aliens are going to invade and like come over and like take over the Earth. Right. Total two opposites, but same like event date kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think Chris Bledsoe said it was Easter 2027 or 2026, either 2026 or 2027, one of those. Um, but irrespective of all that, I'm just putting that out there so like you can cement that in your mind. To me, it does feel like there's a weird convergence we're about to hit where it's like, okay, we're learning about UFOs. Okay, we're seeing this war on DEI. Okay, we're learning about like the corruption of the system. We're learning about like how our system's broken. These people are in power. Oh, Puff Daddy, like Puff Daddy's a part of the CIA. No, not sorry, not CIA. Who's Epstein's a part of the CIA. It's like, dude, what's going on? And it feels like we're about to hit something. So maybe it's not like aliens are going to invade. Like maybe it's allegorical. By like
Mm-hmm.
2027, we're like it's going to hit the fan, and we're all just gonna be like, what happened to our world? And we need to restructure this thing. Not in a negative way. I really don't believe it's negative. Like, I feel like we're about to hit a paradigm shift where it's like, this is just too crazy, guys.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? Because of the whole DI thing, I'm like, dude, what are we talking about here, bro? And then, like, tariffs, what are you guys talking about, bro? China, what are you guys talking about, bro?
Mm-hmm.
There's one world. I know Chinese people, bro. I know Americans. We're like literally across the border,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
Passions, flow states, like find things you like. Like, why does it all feel like this? It's like we're about to hit a point, right? You're like, dude, what the hell's going on?
Mm-hmm.
It's like we're hitting the crescendo. Yes or no? Do you feel it? Do you agree? No.
I don't know.
You don't have to talk about the UFO revelation thing. I just thought it was interesting. I was like, everyone's talking about this 2027, 2026 date. Like, that's kind of weird. But like, let's ignore that. But it does feel like something's happening, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like the Disclosure Project, that documentary that you sent to me. I was like, oh yeah, that's like a big one. Like if they release that and then the whole world knows about aliens, like what does that mean for us?
Mm-hmm.
What does zero point energy mean for us? What is the tariff war? What is the recession? What does the economic collapse mean for us? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, where is this going?
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts?
I don't know where it's gone. I don't know the plan that he's got. So
No, but no, like from your own intuition, not ignore that guy, but like
sure.
from what you're seeing, does it also feel like it's kind of weird? Kind of weird right now,
No, yeah. Yeah.
right? It's not just us. We're just like it's kind of weird. Feels
Mm-hmm.
kind of weird right now. Like, why are we talking about psychics and aliens? What are we talking? Like, what are we talking about, bro? Like, science is talking about science and aliens. Psychics and aliens. What?
Well, I don't see that, but I think you're seeing that, right?
Right. So that's for me being like, what are we talking about? You're seeing like some DEI war, and you're like, what?
Mm-hmm.
Tariffs? What? You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Why? Like, why didn't you keep up with? You love American politics, but you were like in F1. You're like, I'm just gonna push that aside. Same. I was like, I'm pushing that aside right now, bro. Like, this is kind of weird right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't need to focus on that craziness.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, why is it so crazy? You know, no, not. I mean, it's not an
Sure.
actual question. It's a rhetorical question. It's just like, just having the sensation of why does it feel so crazy is very odd.
Mm-hmm.
But do you think they felt this in like the 1960s when they're having like the Vietnam War? They're like, dude, why are we going to war
I
with
think so. Yeah.
Vietnam?
I think we forget the historical stuff. We generally tend to forget.
But it is weird though that that was like not even 100 years ago, the Vietnam War.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like maybe it's just this time zone. Maybe we're in like the because they said like the age of Aquarius, right? We're about to like there's going to be a paradigm shift at the end of this age. It's like maybe that whole chunk, like these 100 years, is like this is our turning point. We had World War One. It wasn't even 100 years ago. When was World War One? 19. Maybe it was 100 years ago
I
now.
think that's about 100
19.
years now. That
Okay,
should
so
be.
100 years. Yeah, because we're in 2025, 1920, let's say. So like that's crazy. We don't even know when World War One was, but like World War One, World War Two, Vietnam War, 9/11, economic
Well, there was
collapse
a lot
in
more stuff in
2008,
between. It's not just Vietnam War. There was the Gulf War. There was other
Cold
things.
War,
Yeah. Cold War and other things. Then 9/11. Yeah.
then 9/11, then oh, I'm watching this crazy documentary. I finished it. It was just one episode for 9/11. They were like tracking down Osama. It's like
Mm-hmm.
called Spy Wars or something. And I was like, for me, I was like, this is so interesting because we grew up during that time and I want to know what the thing was. But I'm imagining kids of today, they're like, what was 9/11?
Yeah.
I wasn't even
No,
born.
that's
You know what
true.
I mean? Right? It's
Yep.
crazy. But to us, it was like, dude, that was a gnarly event. Just
Mm-hmm.
like the people who went through like Vietnam War, they're like, that was a gnarly event,
Mm-hmm.
you know? But like, okay, so like looking at the track of it, it's like, okay, 2008 housing crisis. Okay, COVID. Okay, aliens are coming. You're like, what is happening in this friggin' 100-year span, bro?
Mm-hmm.
And 100 years is a blink of an eye to the universe, bro.
Yeah.
That's like two people, maybe two
Yeah.
two
If
generations here,
sure. Right.
if that. Like, all right, let's
Mm-hmm.
give it three people. You know what I mean? Like that is wild.
Yeah.
Like I feel like if you look at the history of like humanity, it's like everything was good, and then all of a sudden, boom, we had the craziest explosion for some reason.
Well, I
A
mean, it
bit like
started
how
from our industrial revolution.
Yeah, exactly. Totally, right? That is what it is. Because like we were on like a horse and buggy for like so long, like thousands of years, horse,
Yeah,
boom.
that's the thing. Yeah, we were pretty level playing form in some way
Yeah.
of our technology, like to everybody having the same kind of technology,
Yeah.
and then it
N-
changed.
Now we're like reverse engineering rockets of like SpaceX. We're traveling the cosmos. We're getting pictures of the universe. You're like, dog, what? And you know what's the craziest part about this whole thing is that we take it for granted.
Yeah.
How many people are like, oh, there's a new space picture? Dog, if I was a child, there's a new space picture? Like, what? Dude, have you seen this thing? Like, that's crazy that they're doing this. But now it's like, yeah, of course, Hubble telescope again. Oh, it's another bunch of stars. Like, we don't even know how good we have it. Like, this is
That's true.
crazy.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, the Romans had no idea.
It's all because of black gold.
Black gold?
Oil.
Oh, yeah, true. That's true. It is. It is. But that's the freaky part, because then it's like, who owns that? The Saudis. And it's like, well, they're not giving up without a
Well, not
fight. And that's
necessarily. I
where the
mean, not
energy.
necessarily.
But why is it that?
It's
Yeah.
a different thing. The oil thing is now a world thing. They have their own
Facts. Yeah, true.
thing.
True. You're right.
Right. America
Yeah,
drilled
like
more
Canada.
than Saudi did last few years or couple.
Okay,
Last
fair,
year,
fair,
maybe.
fair.
I'll say that.
How how hard is it to think? Because I'm watching this new one called UFO Investigation, and it's not a crazy one. It's with George Knapp. So like he's an actual UFO investigator. So I'm like, oh, I believe what you're saying, bro. So it's a Netflix documentary, and one thing that he was talking about was like resource extraction for these UFOs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, we use oil all the time. How much of a leap would it be to be like, oh yeah, another race is coming to Earth, is ignoring human beings. We're creating all these documentaries, all these like, are aliens real, blah blah blah, and they're just out here just like mining for our water. They're just like in and out, in and out. No, these monkeys, we can't do anything about it. You know what I mean? And it's like we do that. It'd be like us going to like Africa and drilling for oil in like a tribe. And then the whole tribe's like, do you guys see that thing that's coming? Like, is that thing real? And then all like that small tribe is like going off about it. But like we know it's just an oil rig, bro.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like total perspective switch. Like that's how they could be seeing us. Like, dude, it's just like a spaceship that's just taking your water, bro. Chill. You
Right.
know? But we're like, look at this documentary. Aliens are real, bro. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
yeah. Seems stupid when you think about it like that
Mm-hmm.
as well. Yeah. Anyways, the world's amazing because we're playing this video game.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're only alive for like a short amount of time. People are going crazy, but like it is what it is. If the world ends in 2026, 2027, I hope you had a fun video game. I'll see you
Mm-hmm.
on the next one when we reset the button. It is what it is,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. How many people, last question. How many people, like if they're like, oh yeah, the world's gonna end 2026, how many people would be happy? How many people would be sad? And how many people would accept it? That's an interesting thing. Like I feel like a lot of those enslaved people,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm seeing online, like with the alien stuff, it's crazy. The comments are like, bring them. I hate humanity. I'm like, oh my God, dude. Like, what are you saying, bro? Like, I hope they take
Sure.
over and fix. I hope we all become enslaved and die because humanity sucks. You're like, well, that's crazy.
I mean, yeah, that tells you, we need that Superman figure. That's what it
Facts.
seems like.
Facts. Yeah, facts. We do. Yeah. That's why we created God and religion.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? I might convert because a lot of those sound like UFO encounters. I'm like, interesting.
Right.
Maybe there's something there. The religious stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
anyways, all right. Till next week. Yeah, keep playing the video game. Enjoy the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Take it easy, Fish.
Peace.
Bye. All right. Hope you enjoyed that episode. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, all those fun things, and check out our sponsors: Zenro Clothing Co., Portian Bakery, and Podbean. Take it easy, Fish.
Peace.